Hi students, welcome back to geology. We are going to wrap up our metamorphic video series here with how do geologists classify metamorphic rocks. So this will get into the identification and how we tell one rock from another. All right, so your guiding question here is going to be what clues help us determine the original rock or the protolith? So remember, these rocks all start as a different type of rock because of the rock cycle. They have to start as existing material. And so here we're going to discuss not only how we identify the metamorphic rocks, but also how we can tell what they used to be, which would be the protolith. Proto meaning first and lith meaning rock. So first rock is what we're looking at there. All right, so when we classify metamorphic rocks, we're going to be looking at texture and composition. So as we've noticed with all the rock types, we use texture and composition, but sometimes it means a little bit something different, right? So the texture that we're looking for is going to be that foliation. Are they foliated or not foliated? And then the composition is going to be, do they have some sort of mineralogical specific, or are they made up of grain, like sediment grains that have recrystallized? What are they made up of is the composition. And then each metamorphic rock, like I mentioned before, is going to have a protolith or a parent rock in which it derived from. And as I've mentioned before, these are all going to come from igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, or previous metamorphic rocks that have been further metamorphosed. Okay, so let's look at the identification chart for metamorphic rocks. Here we have our basic metamorphic rocks: slate, phyllite, schist, gneiss, marble, quartzite, and anthracite. Okay, so these are the basics. There's a few extras that the literature will talk about and your textbook will talk about, but these are the basics that we're going to focus on. Okay, so we have foliated at the top. That's the 4: slate, phyllite, schist, and gneiss. That was our Beruvia sequence. And then our non-foliated are marble, quartzite, and anthracite coal. Okay, so those are the textures you're looking for. The other textures that help is like the grain size. Is it fine grained or is it medium to coarse grained? And that'll also help you with the identification. From there, you can work on some of those comments, which are characteristics of the rock. For example, gneiss has a really nice banding of black and white minerals. And so you see this really nice, for lack of a better word, or organized minerals by their color. And so there's this segregation between the black and white minerals within the actual rock. And those are generally coming from something like a granite. So gneiss tends to look like a granite that has been basically rearranged and organized. Okay? And then things like marble and quartzite are often confused. They are confused because they look really similar. They're interlocking grains, as you can see in the little texture photograph there. They don't have foliation, so they're not aligned. But they're made up of one single thing. So quartzite is made up of quartz sandstone, so it's mostly just recrystallized quartz. And then marble is made up of limestone, so it's recrystallized limestone, which is calcite. And marble tends to look a little bit more crystalline. Quartzite looks a little bit more like a sandy texture. I like to say that quartzite looks like you were trying to dissolve sugar in butter and stopped at the point at which it wasn't fully dissolved, and it has that kind of grainy texture, and then crystallized into a rock. That's what I think quartzite looks like. If that doesn't resonate with you, that's okay, but it looks kind of like it has a sandy texture to it, or sand was trying to recrystallize, essentially. So for our little activity in this video, I want you to look at these samples and see if you can determine which are the parent rocks to which metamorphic rock they belong. So give this video a pause and think about it, and then I will discuss. All right, so hopefully you paused for long enough. Number 2, 21, and 25 are the parent rocks. 37, 41, and 42 are the metamorphic rocks. So 2 is granite, 21 is sandstone, and 25 is limestone. Okay, they do match across to try to make it a little bit more connective here. So 2, granite, would metamorphose into number 37, which is gneiss. 21, which is sandstone, will metamorphose into quartzite, which is number 41. So you can kind of see that sandy texture in there. And then 25, which is limestone, will metamorphose into 42, which is marble. So hopefully that makes a little bit more sense, but using the chart will also help you as you work through these samples. All right, so I've talked about these textures before. We're going to go a little bit more specific into the foliated textures. So non-foliated means they're not a result of contact not contact, excuse me, compression metamorphism, so regional metamorphism. We don't have directed pressure being applied. Foliated, though, they are from directed pressure. So you get minerals that are aligning parallel to each other, but perpendicular to where the stress was applied. Within each of the foliated metamorphic rocks, we have very specific texture terms we like to use. For example, slate exhibits a slaty texture, schist shows a schistose texture, gneiss shows a gneissic texture, and phyllite shows a phylitic texture, which just tells you what you're looking at. So like in a phyllite, you're looking at parallel arrangement of very, very small mica minerals. In a gneiss, you're looking at a coarser texture banding of minerals. In a schistose or schist, you're looking at coarse texture with a lot of micas. So it's going to be kind of shiny and scaly looking. And slaty texture is going to be microscopic grains that have a parallel orientation. So they're just specialized terms that are describing the foliation that you see in the specific rocks. So as I mentioned, our foliated metamorphic rocks are going to be slate, phyllite, gneiss, and schist. And again, we're looking for the alignment of grains or crystals parallel to each other, perpendicular to stress. Okay, so we're going to go through each of them individually. All right, starting off with slate and phyllite. So I have these side by side because they are very similar. They are made up of grains, and phyllite specifically is microscopic micas. And when you're trying to compare the two, it can be really hard. So you're looking at a side profile, you want to find the lines that tells you that it's foliated. And then from there, you want to decide if the luster looks dull or shiny. So if it looks shiny and has a sheen like B does there, that would be phyllite. If it's dull like A, that would be slate. Otherwise, they look very similar. It's really hard to tell the difference unless you're looking at it in a microscope. From there, we will work on schist. So schist has a lot of micas in it, and so it ends up being really sparkly, and it also kind of feels scaly. So when you touch it, it has kind of this scaly, like an amphibian of some sort, feel to it, and that's the schistosity, schistose texture that you are feeling because it's so heavy in mica. Some of them will have garnet, so that middle photo there, you can see those big knobs. Those are all pieces of garnet that are in the rock, but the color can vary drastically, as you can see here. We have a green schist at the top right, and then in the bottom right, we have a blue schist, and then the one in the middle is a garnet schist. So the type can change drastically and change the color as well. Then we get into gneiss. Gneiss, like I said, kind of looks like an organized granite. It's made from granite, so that's its parent rock. And it's basically taken all of the hornblende, the biotite, the quartz, and the feldspar and aligned them parallel to each other and created this black and white banding. If it's been oxidized, that top right photo shows some oxidation on it. You see some kind of orange banding. That's just from the oxidation of the iron-rich minerals in the rock. Our non-foliated metamorphic rocks include marble, quartzite, and anthracite coal. We'll go through all of those individually as well. Remember, these do not exhibit any sort of alignment of the grains. So we're looking at grains that are interlocking. So they're just kind of all in there. A marble doesn't always look like that first photo. A lot of people picture marble countertops or maybe a marble cutting board, but marble doesn't always look like that in the field. It's made from limestone or dolostone, which are both calcium carbonate rich. So the cool thing about marble is that it will react to acid just like limestone, dolostone, coquina will all do because it contains the calcium carbonate. So essentially it's recrystallized calcite in a metamorphic form. And if the photo in the middle there, if you see it in the field sometimes, it'll polish really nicely. This is a canyon that is polished by flash floods in the desert. This is actually Mosaic Canyon in Death Valley. And one of the ways you can tell it from quartzite is by using the hydrochloric acid, or if you're at home, you can use something like vinegar to test it to see if it's marble versus quartzite. Because quartzite is made up of quartz sandstone, which will not react to acid because there's no calcium carbonate to be found. And quartz doesn't react to acid because silica is non-reactive. Okay. So again, quartzite is made from quartz sandstone, so it's basically recrystallizing the quartz into a mass, and so it kind of has this sandy slash crystalline texture to it, but it's not as pretty crystals as marble tends to be when you look at it in a clean sample. Anthracite coal is the last one we'll talk about. It is a non-foliated metamorphic rock, and it is further alteration of bituminous coal. So again, it's just further alterated plant fragments that are making its progression down in the earth as it's buried deeper and deeper until eventually, hopefully, if it gets enough pressure, it will turn into a diamond. But this is the step before we get there, which is the metamorphic step, anthracite coal. So it's shinier than bituminous coal, and it's even lower density because we're just compacting the carbon as it gets buried deeper and deeper. All right, so bringing that all back to the rock cycle. Any rock can aspire to be any other type of rock. Doesn't matter where it starts, as long as it goes through the proper channels and the proper processes, it can become that rock. So for example, an igneous rock, as long as it goes through heat and pressure, can become a metamorphic rock. A sedimentary rock, as long as it melts, can become magma and then an igneous rock again. And a metamorphic rock, as long as it weathers, erodes, goes through deposition, turns into sediment, then gets compacted and cemented, it can become a sedimentary rock. And vice versa, a metamorphic rock that experiences additional heat and pressure can be remetamorphosed into a new metamorphic rock. So the cycle is dynamic. This is another example. I've shown you quite a few different rock cycles at this point. I would draw one in your notes somewhere. As long as you know the processes to make each rock type, you can always draw a rock cycle and make it look however you want. All right, to sum up this video and metamorphic rocks as a whole, metamorphic rocks display foliation when they're exposed to direct pressure. We classify them using texture and composition. At 50 kilometers at depth, felsic minerals begin to melt and we get partial melting, and so it starts to turn into an igneous rock. The rock cycle shows that any rock can become any other type of rock as long as the correct processes are experienced by the rock. And then in your notes, I want you to write down what 2 characteristics geologists primarily use to classify metamorphic rocks. All right, I'll see you guys in the next videos. Bye.